George.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to our council meeting, January 8th, 2019. First off, there's two things I would like to mention. One, I would like to say that I know our hearts and prayers go with the Sweeting family.
Thank you.
We are so very sorry, and anything any of us can do, let us know.
Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, our agenda's a little different tonight. We thought we'd try this, see how it went. We should be out by midnight. And for those people that are here for the public hearing on the ordinances for zoning and so on and so forth, that will not be heard tonight. Mr. Freeman and Kevin will go over some details, maybe some history behind it, but that will be the extent of it. Now, I call this meeting to order. Now we have a little something different, the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all would stand as you see fit or able.
Neil, taking
Now, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the agenda's approved. Now, as far as public comments, that has also changed. If you would like to make comments on anything on the agenda, off the agenda, with the exception of the public hearing, if you want to speak on the public hearing that's coming up, on the CUP, then you must fill out a card with Hillary. Give her your name and address. Secondly, the consent agenda still remains the same. There'll be no discussion on the consent agenda unless council moves to have one of the items moved to new business or old business. Okay? Now, I think we have special recognition. Would you like to handle that, Mr. Freeman?
Just clarification, did you already vote on the consent agenda? Has that been voted
No,
upon?
we haven't voted on it.
Okay, that's fine.
Did anyone
Because you
want
got
to
some
speak?
additional.
Is anybody
He
going
has
to
some additions to it.
No, did anyone want to speak?
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
All right. So you all want to do the speaking before the special recognition? Okay. All right, Mr. E.B. Springs. Evening, E.B.
Good evening to everybody. I am Eli Baxter Springs, E.B. Springs, and I live here in Blowing Rock at 113 Mockingbird Lane in the city limits. I want to talk about a possible loophole in the restrictions on short-term rentals. This past fall, we had some hearings before the Board of Adjustment, Town Board of Adjustment, where folks were charged with doing short-term rentals in a residential area where the zoning prohibited it. And probably the most egregious case and the most aggressive property owner of the bunch was my next-door neighbor. My next-door neighbor bought their property in 2004, and they said they bought it with the intention not of using it themselves, but to run it as a business and rent it as much as possible, and make as much money as possible. For 14 years, they rented it almost every weekend, year-round, for right at $300 a night. That's a lot of money. Well, they lost the hearing this past fall. They were told they're in violation, knock it off. Well, after that hearing, my neighbors and I were shocked to see that groups were still coming in for short terms. We couldn't believe it. We contacted Kevin Rothrock, who is our zoning enforcement guy, and Kevin did what he should do. He contacted property owner said, well, yeah, I've had these people come in, but each group had a lease with me for 28 days. A short-term rental is considered less than 28 days. So the owner said, I had a lease with each group for 28 days. And yeah, they might have left early, but I can't stop them from leaving early. They're entitled to leave early on their lease if they want to. And Kevin found that the property owner is in compliance. He pointed out that you're better off than you were before, because if he plays by the rules, the short-term people will leave, but he shouldn't be renting it for the balance of the 28 days. So you're better off than you were before. Well, I don't care about that. It's wrong. And it's a loophole that I don't think the town intended to be here. After I spoke with Kevin on the phone, I went on my computer and I Googled how to get around short-term rental restrictions. And after a little scrolling, there it is. There's the lease game. You write up a lease for whatever your local jurisdiction requires, 30 days or whatever. And your people come in and they stay for the shorter term. But you had your lease. You had your lease. I think this needs to be fixed if in fact controlling short-term rentals in residential areas where it's prohibited is a priority for the town. I think it has become so. This has become a hot issue not just in this country, all over the Western world. The town code defines short-term rentals. A short-term rental is 28 days or less. Rental, lease, or use. Or use. You would think that my neighbors using the lease game would be prohibited by use. I think, and I don't want to tell you your business, but I think use needs to be better defined. Because if I own a rental, a vacation home, I live in Charlotte, and I wanted my brother to be able to use it for one weekend free of charge, I think he should be able to. If my best friend wanted to use my house free of charge for a weekend, I think he should be able to. The thing here is the consideration of something of value changing hands. And
A.B., you only have about a few seconds left there, Chief. Okay.
I would suggest something like what I typed up here. It could be approved upon, I'm sure, but I think this loophole can be fixed with a simple add by the town council. And that's all I have to say.
E.B., thank you, and I'm sure the council will take this in consideration.
Thank you.
All right. Lee Rockamora. Hey, Lee. Yeah, roughly 3 minutes there, Chief.
One of the key elements of good government is transparency. When I look on the town's website, none of the town's advisory boards have their meetings publicly documented on a regular basis. The planning board was April 19th and December 20th of this year. The Board of Adjustment, of which I'm an alternate, the most recent post was October 2016. BRAC, the most recent post was September 2015. The TDA, January of 17. The ABC Board, January of 17. The citizens of Blowing Rock have no knowledge to allow input about matters concerning them by these advisory boards other than hearsay. Additionally, when I contacted an advisory board member to attend some specific meetings, I was told on multiple occasions that the meeting had been canceled or was postponed. Additionally, through hearsay, I learned that an already finalized proposal to have been presented this evening to the council to amend town ordinances relating to development of the town center in the central business district was only through hearsay. According to the code, section 16-6.2, titled Notice of Hearing, states that not less than 10 days' notice, written notice mailing to neighboring property owners 150 feet, notice to other interested parties by publishing in a newspaper 15 days. I feel it is anything impacting ordinances for the town center or the central business district impacts all property owners, and all should be notified. Additionally, timing of these presentations should be coincide when the most property owners are on site or available to come to these hearings. I feel it is, the timing of 10 to 15 days is insufficient in our community with so many non-full-time property owners. In 2019, publishing a notice in a newspaper is no longer adequate notification. These are ordinances that need to be addressed. Transparency mandates engagement of all affected parties. Please continue to ensure this important aspect of good government. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. All right, moving forward, do we have any other individuals, citizens that would like to speak before we move forward? All right, the consent agenda. Approval of 12-5-8.
Is there no special recognition?
No,
Employee.
special recognition. Thank you.
Just trying to make it look good.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
We thought we'd leave it to last.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it okay, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. We have some years of service awards that we need to give to some of the employees. I'd like to recognize them. Before we do that, I'd like to have the department heads, and there he is, I didn't think, Chief, come on up here. Of course, Kevin. And the Public Works Director. There he is, Matt. These recognitions are for people here, for employees that have been with the town for between 10 and 15 years. And that's important. That has a lot of corporate knowledge that these people have. They've helped the town out for a long time. And in our business and councils, I'm sure that you're only as good as the employees, probably for that are underneath you. And we really like to appreciate these employees. And with that, we'd like to award them and start with John Warren. Is he here? He would come on up. We also have, and pass these out to department heads. They work for you. Next one is Daniel White from the police department, been with us 10 years.
Lieutenant White,
Say something.
he had another commitment, couldn't be with us tonight, but he had 10 years of service from Fort Worth.
You want to go to the next one?
Lance Dawson has 15 years of service. Lance is our newly appointed, as of July, school resource officer, first school resource officer in Blowing Rock. He's doing an outstanding job. I've heard lots of positive feedback about him, so we appreciate him.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your many years of service.
We got a couple more.
First up
15
will be
years.
Chris Geist, who has 15 years in. He does a little bit of everything for us. Anything from chipping brush, to painting roads, to snow removal on the sidewalk, he does it all. So, Chris, thank you for everything you do. Next up is Mark Presnell, also with 15 years. Mark's on our field ops crew. He probably has more knowledge of water and sewer lines than about anybody else.
Thank you, everybody. Guys, thank you for serving the town. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Albert wants to say something.
We even gave John Warren a new truck.
All right. Now we'll move forward with the consent agenda, but once again, thank you to all of our personnel for their many years of service. It says a lot about our community. All right, approval of the 12/5/18 minutes to the special town council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve with a change on the special meetings that the term headhunting firm be changed to professional search team. And that would be true on both of 12/5 and 12/20. Is that okay?
Okay, Hillary, you got that? Okay. So we have a second? Second. Favor?
Aye.
Approval 12/13/18 minutes, town council regular meeting. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
12/20/18 minutes, the town council meeting, special meeting with the change to remove headhunter to search firm. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, budget amendment, ordinance 2019-01, Miller Property, 712 Possum Hollow Road. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Budget amendment, ordinance 2019-02, Middle Fork Greenway, Blowing Rock section. Do we have a motion?
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And finally, the tax release, 2018-06, Fred and Nancy Pretty, new owner Brian Crutchers.
Crutcher.
Motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay. Moving forward to what will not be a public hearing. Do you, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, did you all receive the contract from North Carolina DOT this afternoon that came out over email? It was the signed contract?
I did.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so passes. Now, do you want to move forward with Kevin on the explanation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to move forward now. What was the public hearing, which is not now, the land use ordinance amendment. This is strictly, Kevin's going to go over some details, maybe some history on this. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council, I'll be brief. Now we have for everybody else to take a look at. Just a brief timeline. The ordinance that we're presenting to you tonight, ordinance 2019-03, review of central business and town center setbacks, building heights and density, among some other things. As you recall, we've had several projects that have come before planning board and council with either a conditional use permit or conditional rezoning. And each project has, we've looked at our ordinance and see how it fits with our building heights and setbacks. And we've recognized over the past couple of years that there's a need to take a better look at our ordinance and see if there's some clarification and just evaluate, because the last time we updated that ordinance was 2005. And we've had really one building built in the heart of downtown, was the Hannah Building in 06 and 07. So at the mid-year retreat in June of this past year, council asked planning board to study the downtown development standards for town center and central business. We moved on to the planning board in August, and we discussed those standards, and at that time established a subcommittee to study the ordinance and existing conditions in depth, to report findings and a recommendation back to the full planning board. The subcommittee met on September 11th. We walked Main Street, evaluated the heights of the buildings, went in J.W. Tweeds and looked at that, how that, the interior of that building has actually got 3 levels. So we looked at some of those details, looked across the street on the west side of Main Street, just to evaluate our Main Street, our town center, and some other areas of central business. The subcommittee met again on October 5th, November 8th, and then November 28th, and at that time, we finalized an ordinance draft, and we prepared that for the December planning board. December 20th, we went to the planning board to review that draft ordinance, and the planning board recommended to move forward with a few modifications and to forward that to town council tonight. The recommendation is for council to consider setting a public hearing at the February 12th meeting, if you so desire, and then we can study that draft ordinance in detail. So, I'd be glad to answer any questions this time.
Next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Ladies, gentlemen, there appears to be a few different options here. We've all seen all the emails flying around, and one option was to set it up for a public hearing on the February 12th meeting. Second option was to send back to the planning board for either revisions or more details. And the third was to table this issue for an undetermined period of time. So it's up to you guys.
Can't we talk about it at the retreat
You
as a public meeting?
seeing to the point where the public hearing, I don't know, Alan, what's your thoughts on that?
What was the question?
I was asking if we could discuss it at the retreat. Discuss the proposal at the retreat.
Here's one problem is the public, by having it at the retreat, we're not going to be able to have all the public involved that would want to be involved. I
Well,
don't know.
we should have had the retreat here then.
Well, let's look back at our last month's minutes.
Okay.
I think the other thing too is, we've got a lot on our agenda at the retreat that I think this is a big deal, and I think putting it on it is just we're not gonna be able to do everything.
So,
You
Does
think,
someone
you
make
think
a
that
make a
February
motion?
would be better?
I mean, I had some questions that I think planning board needs to go back and relook at it, or we can table it. But, I mean, this is a very big deal, in my opinion, when you knock out, density requirements. And the other problem I had was the green space going down from 75 to 40. I think, so,
would you like to make that a motion, Sue?
to table or to?
Well, you had mentioned about sending it back to
Yeah.
planning board.
Yeah, I can make a motion to,
Go- Jim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think we've gone through this thing several times on the town center and also the central business district about these setbacks and building heights. Maybe not so much on the density, but we've gone through a lot of that. But I would really like to hear, in January, I'd like to hear what those recommendations
You mean
are.
tonight or
February.
February?
To hear what they are and have the people be able to hear them as well. And if they're not prepared to make any comments about it, or if we'd like to study it, and take some time on it, then we can either send it back to the committee or table it or something like that for February, March. Unless I'm wrong, I don't think there's any sense of urgency that said this thing has to be settled by April 15th. I don't think that's necessary right now. So if we could do it that way, or at least I would propose that we do it that way, then everybody can get their 2 cents in, and we'll then be able to adjudicate that, or whatever we want to do, pass an ordinance sometime maybe this spring. But anyway, that would be my recommendation, rather than taking it, sending it back to the committee without any, say, well, what do you want us to do with it? I'd like to know what they came up with. They spent 4 months, or more than 4 or 5 months on it. They must have got some good work.
So you're not asking for a public hearing in February, you're asking for information on
Well,
what they came up with?
I'm asking for information, I'm also asking for, in a sense, a public hearing. For them to, people with the public can hear what is being proposed and why it's being proposed, and then let them feed back to us what their thoughts are. And then I think, then we can decide what's the next step after that.
It's being proposed because we asked them to do it.
Yeah, but
But
you,
I don't see any,
do you know what's
I
proposed?
see no merit in sending it back to them.
Well, I don't either at this
Have a
stage.
hearing about it and go from there.
Yeah. Well, we'll decide that, what we do, right?
I mean, you can choose it that night just to say, we will take it into consideration at the next meeting if you want to.
In
So you don't
February.
have to vote on it, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
So, do we have a motion?
I'll second Jim's proposal to go ahead and hear it at February 12th meeting.
Do we have any further discussion?
I would ask someone, preferably the chairman of the planning board, to present us a real good definition of density at that meeting.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. That will be heard on February 12th.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'll be right back at my other stuff.
Well, okay. All right, this next is the CUP application for the speckled trout. Kevin?
Being that this is a quasi judicial, go ahead.
You need to go follow the outline here, and he needs to be under protocol before he even talks. So,
Kevin?
we just.
Sorry about the,
You just give him an opportunity to present.
we need to make sure that you're under oath, Hillary,
And anybody else.
and anyone else that
We-
wants to
we do it
speak
all.
on this needs to be put under oath, okay?
To make a comment?
Yes.
I think for being quasi judicial on that, at this point, we need to ask if the board has any information, it's not illegal of that it needs to share, that we've heard information with the rest of the board members. That's just to get in the minutes that everybody's dealing on the same page. And if there's not, then we need to go ahead and start taking over.
I remember seeing this format in our agenda. Is somebody there on that page right now? This format where you said,
The one
are you
to-
there on that page?
I am.
Will you tell me where that is in our packet?
On the executive summary on page 3,
Okay, thank you.
or it's page 5, it's red underneath
It's
that.
page 5.
It is
Thank
a
you.
specific,
I got off the page because I
Procedure
went
and
down
how to
to the
conduct.
planning.
So
So you all do not wish to
All
disclose
those who are
anything?
gonna testify need to come up and be sworn.
right, including
Yes.
Anyone else? Public wants to speak to it?
Yes, it does, but I mean, it's just like, it's just, he still wants to have his own. He still wants to. What the hell is with this thing?
page are all those up?
We're on 36.
So which number?
Do we have anyone else that would like to be sworn in?
Just us three.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay. The request is for a conditional use permit 2018-01 for Speckled Trout. Speckled Trout LLC is the applicant, and they're requesting this conditional use permit to locate and display an antique wine cask at the front of the building in the outdoor seating area. The property is located at 922 Main Street at the intersection of Highway 221, and the property is zoned central business. Speckled Trout has made some significant modifications to the restaurant building and the property over the past year. Most noticeably, they have eliminated the parking along Main Street and Highway 221, thereby preventing vehicles from backing out into the street at a busy intersection. The owners worked with the town to remove the parking in anticipation of the sidewalk being planned along both street frontages with the pending Sidewalk to Bass Lake project. In exchange for removing the parking, the town allowed the restaurant to create outdoor seating between the proposed back of sidewalk and the front porch of the restaurant. The seating area was enclosed by new iron fencing for safety purposes. The new owners of the restaurant also purchased the adjoining parking lot to secure parking for their restaurant to offset the loss of parking in front of the building. The restaurant owners were gifted with an antique wine cask from France that they would like to display prominently at the front of the restaurant. The cask would serve as a signature feature of the restaurant as an iconic image and photo opportunity. The owners desire to have the cask located in the outdoor seating area in its current location. Another possible location is about 10 feet back from that current location and then closer to the front entry. And then in your packet, you see that where we looked at moving that back. As this was presented to the planning board last month, the planning board recommended approval of that CUP application with the following conditions. Number one, that the wine barrel structure be moved to meet the applicable setbacks, and that location is 15 feet from the back of the sidewalk or proposed sidewalk. And then that the applicant obtain a building permit with one of the main reasons to certify that they provide information that would say how that wine cask is mounted is safe, that it meets the North Carolina Building Code. And so that was the other requirement. In your packet is the draft conditional use permit, a letter from Emily and Erica Brinker, and they're here tonight to present their proposal. And then there's an aerial map of the subject property and a survey and photos. I don't know how much you like those photos with all that snow piled up, but there it is. Maybe that's what we'll have this week. But anyway, they have a presentation that they would like to go through, a PowerPoint. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time before they come up and speak.
Ladies, gentlemen?
Who's putting on the sidewalk?
The town,
The town is?
yes.
In
It's
the
part
front?
of the, yes, ma'am, it's part of the Sidewalk to Bass Lake project that from Bass Lake wraps around the front and goes down to Hartley's Interiors.
And are you measuring from the, I see right of way, is that DOT right of way?
That's right.
So, the measurement is from that?
Yes, that's right. It's, that is the property line, and there's a pin out there, and it's existing condition, that's where the railing is. That's the property line, and the right of way.
Where's the
is
sidewalk gonna be
further
in
out
front of
just
it?
a little bit, yes. If you look at this site plan here that shows our sidewalk,
All right, that's
the
what I'm
right of way is back from that a little bit, but because there's right of way identified, we're saying it needs to be 15 feet back from there.
And is the right of way on the south side right at the property line?
Yes, they're one and the same.
So the parking that they moved was really in the right of way, DOT right of way?
Yes.
So it really was illegal parking, correct? It had not been, DOT had not,
Yeah, as long as the restaurant had
enforced
been
it.
there, that's right.
so is there railing to the right of that right of way? Is that the dark line? Is the right of way I've got, is there in the street? With that railing?
The railing, the right-of-way line and the property line on the Main Street side are one and the same. And the railing is right on that line. It's actually just behind it.
Right, how about on the south side?
The south side, that railing would be towards the street from the
So it's
right-of-way.
out of the right of way.
That's right.
Does DOT know that they have that railing in their street?
Probably. I would say they do.
Is that gonna be removed when the sidewalk comes in?
If the town needs it moved, the agreement was you will have to move it for us to construct the sidewalk.
Okay.
And the applicant's aware of that.
It's just where you're talking about right here.
No, right here.
Any further questions
that's
for
right.
Kevin, guys?
That's the east side.
No, because that's.
So on the south
Oh, I
elevation,
see, yeah,
between this line here, this dark line,
yeah.
is where they're putting tables. Is that what you're saying to me?
This is the side.
Right here?
There's nothing over there.
What's this, the railing?
That dark line is a
That's the
stormwater
rail.
pipe.
Okay,
This is
The
the,
tables are on this side,
okay.
this is,
Main Street.
this is the
Do
railing.
you have that, slide?
I'm sorry,
Correct?
No.
I don't,
Guys, honestly, this has nothing to do with us. This is not part of their request. And this tends to be more of a DOT issue, if I'm not mistaken, is it not?
What has to do
Well,
with
For the south side,
setbacks?
for the south side.
the,
It
That's what I'm
has to do
saying.
with setbacks.
South side had nothing.
yeah, the south side is not involved, but they do have to move, according, the recommendation by planning board is move that wine barrel out of the setback.
Right.
And then the property line and the right-of-way on the Main Street side are one and the same.
Okay.
You see where it is?
Any other questions for Kevin, guys? No?
You didn't do a facsimile or any kind of alteration to show us how that, if they move it back, how it will look, did you?
Yeah, that's
No.
page 39. Do you have that, Albert?
Here you go, Alice.
I don't know, I don't think I did.
Here you go. There it
You
is.
mean this aerial,
No, I mean, I don't mean.
a
draw,
photo
I mean
rendering?
that.
No. No, I didn't do anything like that.
So no Photoshop.
No. I have this, that's in your packet, that's all, that's as far as I went with it.
Okay, I understand. But you could have.
I could have, but it wouldn't be very good.
Snow was in the way.
Yeah, that was the best picture I had.
Any other questions for Kevin?
I mean, it looks
Jim,
like you
Virginia?
just push it back however many feet, right? Move it back
About-
towards the building.
Yeah, about 8 feet.
Okay.
I measured again today.
Doug? Sue?
Okay.
Well, I did ask you one thing. Have you thought any more, there was quite a bit of discourse at the planning board meeting about defining what it is?
I think it's a structure. I do not think it's a sign.
What's the difference in this, and I think I need to bring up, because there's two members of the board that weren't on, when we had the Sunset tractor that had no logo on it, you considered that a sign, and how is this different?
I did, and we called them and told them to move it. After that, App Ski Mountain had the snowcat, and then I had the same ruling. I had the same opinion at that time. That it was a sign, and then that went to the Board of Adjustment, and in the appeal, the board said, we don't feel like it's a sign, we think it's a historic piece of their App-Ski's history of having that snowcat out there. And so that was some of the basis on how I went on this. That I didn't see it really as a sign. It is unique, but that's just where I landed on that.
So you feel doing a CUP because it's a structure that's changing the building?
Not changing the building, it's changing the site.
Okay.
And
So would,
being there was only, there's 3 ways: a sign permit, a zoning permit, and conditional use. With it not being a sign permit wouldn't be appropriate. I was not gonna approve it with a zoning permit, knowing the controversy surrounding it. So, conditional use permit was the next option.
Is it a sign?
so
No.
if,
Or is that a sign?
No,
I don't think it
no.
is.
So it's just a,
It's
is it a piece of artwork?
I wouldn't say that either.
so how about, let's look at it this way. If the building was sold to someone else, and it was used for something else, that would need to go away.
No.
No, it'd have to
No?
stay
You-
there.
It would
The
stay there.
CUP runs with the property.
Okay,
It runs with the deed.
okay, so if the owner of the building that sold it and it's, I don't know, what do you want it to be?
Garden shop.
A garden shop, then that stays there for the garden shop.
No, they can get rid, the new owner can get rid of it if they want to, if they so choose.
But they can,
That's a change
they
in
can
use.
choose to keep it. It's-
Well, that's a change in use from restaurant to garden shop, so
They'd
they may have to
see.
amend that conditional use permit, or if this is approved, they'd have to amend it.
Shall we hear from the applicants, guys?
Okay.
Kevin, thank you.
You're welcome.
And, yes, those speakers from the floor. Please state your name and your address.
Click this, it should go. Just so you know how it works.
Emily Brinker, 232 Flannery Ford Farms Road, Glen Rock, North Carolina. Please state your name and address. Erica Brinker, 311 Flannery Fork Road, Glen Rock.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to make a little room. So we have a little PowerPoint. We appreciate y'all having us. This has been a very interesting learning experience for myself and Erica. Don't know that we care to repeat a whole lot of town proceedings, but we have definitely learned a lot. So I'll just start off by saying I am Emily, and this is Erica Brinker. And are you going to open that? Oh, I thought I did. And we are the co-owners of the Speckled Trout. We wanted to tell you a little bit about how we came to Blowing Rock and how our families have been involved and how we first became involved in the Speckled Trout at all. Our family relationship goes back to the 50s. Our husband's grandparents bought a farm up here, and the family came up every summer, every winter, every break. They skipped school on Wednesdays to come skiing because it was cheaper. We've been coming a long time. And since Erica and I came into the family, that's Erica's oldest and that's my littlest. So we've been coming up here since we each married into the family. And about 4 years ago, we were in Raleigh and they were in Charlotte. And different properties on the same road as our family farm became available. And we each jumped at the opportunity to purchase property up here and to move and to become a real part of Blowing Rock in this town that we love so much. Just so happens that David Bartlett, the previous Speckled Trout owner, lives across the street from the family farm. So we've known him for ages, and we have casual conversations. And, as he was getting towards retirement, we were getting excited about, putting our stamp on the town and getting involved and just being a place and restoring what was on a corner that had kind of gotten run down, restoring it back to something that the town could be proud of, that locals could come to and tourists could come and visit. So February 2016, we took over the Speckled Trout. We went through the proper permitting processes and started working to take away the old and make a new, cleaner, more attractive environment. Worked really hard, got children involved, and Erica and Eric and everybody just using every talent we could pull together. And then we reopened in May of 2016 as the new Speckled Trout Restaurant and Bottle Shop.
Okay, so early on, we worked to define our vision and values. Thoughtfulness, craftsmanship, and community are at the basis of every decision we make. And we start, from either locally sourced ingredients that we put into our food, all the way to our interior. Are these look right? Yeah. So there's some food pics. All the way to our interior decor. We try to make selections that emphasize both quality and carefully created things. So in the bottle shop, our wine racks are antiques that we've purchased over several business trips, flea market and furniture market. We've got some repurposed ceiling tiles that we have for wall art. We've got an antique bake boat that we use for display in the bottle shop, and then we also use it at various community events. We've used it at Taste before to display our food on. So just kind of things like that. Got some handmade art by several artists. We've got a local painter, welder/artist making the table on the previous slide. And combining our love of food, drinks, and antiques, we've added merchandise in the bottle shop and restaurant that speak to our interests. So this is kind of some examples of that. And then the lovely barrel.
So the barrel. We added the rather large wine barrel to our outdoor seating area as a decorative element, as something that would add character and interest to our town and to our little corner. We feel that it is large, we are aware of that, but it's not so different than another decorative feature that isn't quite so large and impactful. Some of the other examples around town are the phone booth at Sixpence. Camp or Footschlaggers probably has the giant canoe up on their wall, a little orange bicycle, and just some other different permanent decorative features that are outside, representing what the restaurant is or representing what the owner's interests are, or just adding prettiness. The size does set it apart, but we feel that's what makes it so unique. It is an antique. It did come from France. It was used in the difficult process of winemaking, the hands-on craftsmanship in actually making the barrel and the wine that went into it are stuff that really speaks to us, and we think it's an important feature.
It also helps define kind of our philosophy on how we prepare food, prepare craft drinks, everything down to the sauces that we make. We do that in-house. So this is kind of speaks to our approach. So based on Article 21, Section 16-21.1D, which states, to provide proper standards to ensure a high level of quality in the appearance of Blowing Rock without discouraging good design by setting rigid standards that stifle a developer's or property owner's individuality, creativity, or artistic expressions at a particular site. So based on all of that, we believe that the barrel complies with town ordinances. We've also sought local neighbors' opinions, whether it's surrounding businesses, every single business that we can see that can see us. We've gotten signatures of support from, as well as many down Main Street patrons and other people that have frequented our establishment. Chase Ledecky from Mellow Mushroom wrote a letter in support, and one of the highlights was stating that the improvements that we've made to our corner of town have positively impacted the entire town. So we seek your support of our business by allowing the permanent installation of this decorative element, and we thank you for your consideration. Oh, and then the mayor might not know about our. Oh no, you took it off. Oh, we had a really funny thing at the end. I'll have to show you later.
Kevin must have edited it.
It's our plan B, and the mayor's involved. Anyway, we'll show you.
This is not good. Ladies, while you're still under,
Sorry.
while you're still
This is a
under,
little serious.
while you're still under oath, I've got some questions for you.
We were running away.
I want to see the funny.
I'm waiting to see it too.
It was funny.
Oh my God, my wife's here. Ladies and gentlemen, while they're under oath, do you all have any additional questions for them?
So you were aware of the permitting process in doing your redo, which I must say is excellent, and you've done a great job at turning that corner into something that's very pretty. But during the time when you were doing that, Were you aware that there was a permitting process?
Yeah, we got permits for the building, the dumpster enclosure, the fencing, like we've done a permit for everything that we thought you were supposed to permit. We had no idea that you would need to permit, I mean, to us, it's just a feature that we set in place, we didn't realize.
We didn't realize there was a process for that particular
And I-
thing. Everything else was highly involved from a construction standpoint, and more like structural, so.
And even like with the barrel now defining it as a structure and needing a permit, I don't think that it's fair for us to have known that when the town really didn't know that either ahead of this whole process.
What's the height of the barrel with the container that it's sitting in?
72 plus 18, whatever that is.
72
The
plus
stand is
18.
about 18 inches, give or take.
But
and then
the
it's-
barrel nests down into
Right,
it.
so
So
I don't
about
know if it's
90
the 12,
inches?
It's
it's
about
like 12 to
70.
18 inches, because it does, yeah, go up on the edges.
So about 90 inches, is what you're saying.
About 8
Okay. Who did you buy the wine cask from, or whoever gave
It
it
was
to you?
gifted to us.
Who did they buy it from?
It's a vendor that imports stuff. They work down in the Hudson Furniture Market. His name is Eric. I think his son's name is Eric.
I don't remember
They're
the
importers.
name of the company, or actual company.
Virginia?
It's an antique dealer
Yeah.
that she
Okay.
purchased it from.
Sue, are you?
You can go ahead.
I wasn't like foaming at the bit or anything.
I'm just coming down the line.
Oh, well, I thought Sue was still asking questions.
I
Yeah.
was. What is the building height restriction in that?
30 feet.
Okay.
Can we talk freely, or do we have to wait till you ask the question? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question. As soon as she finishes.
Go
Or
ahead.
as soon as
Go
she
ahead.
finishes.
So 30 feet and it's 8 feet. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
8-6.
Go ahead.
I don't have a question.
I would like to,
Doug?
Are you comfortable with, the planning board's, their recommendation with moving it back and getting a permit and getting a stand built to code and everything that the planning board has asked?
We are mostly comfortable with it.
Define mostly.
So the uncomfortable part is the cost associated with having to move it back, which we requested to not have to do that prior to approval because we can't really afford it. It's upwards of several $1,000s to have it placed, and it's the same cost to move it back 6 inches as it is to move it back 8 feet. So regardless, we're still gonna have to have a crane come in, we're gonna have to have our welder disassemble what he did, redo what he did. So there's quite a bit of cost associated with it, so that's the uncomfortable part, but on the other side of that, we're happy to compromise and meet you guys halfway, or meet whoever is the decider of things
Well, put it
halfway.
another way, it could be either do it or not have it.
That's true,
So it's.
exactly.
Let me ask you this. When did you buy this?
When did
Or when did
she?
Yeah, when did you get this antique?
End of October
What year?
this year.
Okay, so you didn't have it when you
Designed
didn't
everything
have it when you applied for your building permit to do your construction or anything like that?
Correct.
And when you put in these little barrels out front, you know, that you're using as, well, I'm not talking about benches, I think plants go in them, don't they?
Yes.
Huh? Was that an afterthought as well, after you started building, or was that part of the original design?
We've had, you're talking about the metal, kind
I'm
of
talking about the metal,
agricultural
but-
looking planters. Those have been there since we opened our doors, prior to any changes to the,
But weren't they closer to the building when you
yes,
opened up?
they've been in several
And
locations.
then these were pulled out when you wanted to get more outdoor seating.
When
Is
we
that
did-
correct?
Yes,
That's
when we did
correct.
the dining, the outdoor dining in lieu of.
Because we
parking.
wanted to create more traffic flow right up against the building, so we just popped them, which we, obviously they're where the proposed sidewalk is going to be installed, and they'll eventually not be there at all.
Is it my understanding then, is that this antique that you have was sort of a new thing, and that you didn't have any thoughts of having anything like that when you went into business here?
That's correct.
Okay. And when you had something of this large, did you ask Kevin ahead of time whether or not it was okay?
We did not. and
You
did
didn't?
not-
It just didn't occur to us.
You
Didn't
didn't
realize
occur
we
to you
needed to.
that this town had any kind of an
'Cause-
ordinance or anything like that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, somebody asked me early on, like, after we put it in place.
After you, yeah, right.
What is it? That was the question we got pretty frequently. And all I kept saying to people was, it's decoration. It's purely decoration. It's cool, we like it, and it's a nice thing to look at outside. So
And so-
that was our honest,
Yeah, and you
answer.
took a little tour around town, you saw all these other little things, you thought, well, that's,
That was
Well,
after the fact.
That
I
was
mean,
well after.
yeah.
That
that
was
was
like,
well after.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
That was for y'all, so
Mhm.
we could kind of say,
okay, thank you.
Well, I do have another observation after we close the hearing, but I want to establish a fact just to suit me.
What'd you say, Albert?
I want to establish a fact just to suit me.
Okay.
Did you or did you not have arrogance or malice, a forethought, when you put it out there, or did you just get caught by the town and you didn't know that you might get caught?
no arrogance, no malice, thought it was pretty, and put it out there not realizing
No, we didn't,
that it
yeah.
was,
We didn't put it out there with intentions to ask forgiveness, not permission.
Kevin notified us
We put it
that
out there
we needed to do something.
just because we thought it was cool.
Well, we seemingly don't know what it is, I mean.
Decorative element.
So
We like to refer to
I
it as
think
decorative.
if you don't know what something is, you should name it. And it looks French, so why don't we just call it Monsignor Winecast?
Okay, now,
I'll guarantee you,
shall we close?
Okay, maybe we could eventually
I'll
put a
guarantee
face
you,
on it and it could
Mr.
be our mascot.
Mr. Winecast knew what he was gonna get started up here. He would never got off the bus.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Is that all? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ladies. We'll close the public hearing, and if you have any
Do
additional.
we need to close it to ask a question of Kevin?
Kevin needs to speak while it's still open. If you
Go ahead,
can
Kev.
have that.
Okay.
Public hearing's still
Close
open.
the application.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
What do you need to change as far as the, stand goes? I read something in the minutes about, the wind or something. Do you just need to have an engineer?
Just-
Do you think that something major needs to be changed with the stand? It's bolted to the pavement, isn't it?
Yeah, but that could be moved.
I know, but
We just
what-
need a building permit, and they'll have to provide John with enough information that we could approve something that we know will hold the barrel and meet the building code.
Would it
Does
not?
it not? Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it seems pretty sound now. Did you have a feeling, or did the planning board have a feeling that it's not sturdy to hold it, or?
We just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't move it physically right now, but we want to be sure. And so building permit would cover that.
I guess, would it not fall under the same guidelines for anchoring, like a little storage building?
Good.
That you would, they require the storage buildings to be anchored if you have them at your home?
That's the building inspector.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did planning board go through findings of fact?
They did not.
Did they say the use or development is located, designed, and proposed to be operated so as to maintain and promote the public health, safety, and general welfare?
They did not.
Isn't that part of a conditional use permit in order to be approved?
It's required for the council to make those findings.
So we need to make sure we address these issues before.
That's right, and we could put those in the CUP specifically. Again, this draft can be amended as y'all would like, if you want to approve it.
If we did this outside of CUP, what we did tonight could be determined to be in other words, if Mellow Mushroom wanted to put up a 25-foot round pizza on his building, they could say, well, you let those guys do it. Under the CUP, each one rises and falls on its own merit. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, sir, I believe that's right.
Okay. So there is no preference, there's no precedent.
No, sir.
Guys?
Well,
More questions?
Thank you, Kevin.
Close the public hearings.
Is that it? All right, you ready to close public hearing? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. What do you think?
I think council,
Further discussion?
yeah, my concern is the council needs to be careful about people who are putting things up without permits, without going through the permitting process, without even asking people, and then somehow planning and inspections and we and planning board have to approve these. And I just have a real problem with the fact that you didn't even ask anybody about a structure that's 90 inches tall. And I think that would be where I would have a problem with somebody else putting something up. And as far as what's in front of Sixpence, that was before our zoning. So I'm clarifying that. According to what Kevin said in the minutes, it was.
It's before he came on to zoning.
Before he came.
Personally,
okay.
not before our
Before he
zoning
came on,
laws.
so we don't have any record of that, correct? My understanding, but I just think that we as a council need to be aware that this may happen again, and we're gonna be here trying to justify something that, should have been gone through the permitting process, or at least talked to the planning and inspection department, which you didn't do.
yeah, I think it's, the planning and inspections recommended that this be moved 10 feet back, is that correct? That's what they're
10 or 15?
recommending.
To meet the 15-foot setback.
It'd have to be what?
As long as it meets the 15-foot setback, it's got to be moved about 7 or 8 or 9 feet.
Okay, whatever it is, it's gotta meet the rules,
Yes,
right? That would be number one. Number two is that if this is no longer a building that's gonna house wine in it or something like that, I would think we might wanna consider that it be removed. And so I'm suggesting that maybe that, whatever we're calling that, artwork or whatever it's called, that it doesn't follow the building, that it follows the use of the building. And that if the people move or whatever they do, that may have to go with.
With the property.
If the use changes, is that what you're saying, Jim?
Yeah, I'm saying that, yeah, I'm saying that if the use changes, it's really up to them to, if we decide, or the council decides, that they want that off the street, that has to go with them. Or the new owners have to figure out a way to get rid of it. The other thing is, young lady, we probably will not be sharing. My recommendation is that we don't share in the cost of moving where you got this. That'll be on your nickel. And if the council approves it, moving it later, if you ever decide to move, will also be on your nickel. That'll be part of the deal. And the reason is that maybe the other people, wouldn't like it, or something like that. Because it's really big. Yes, ma'am.
So you're referring to if there were a second business owner, we're gone. A
You're
new
gone,
business comes
and
in,
somebody comes in and says,
It has to
it's a
go-
card shop, and they don't want that
Right.
wine,
So-
wine barrel there.
For your purposes, if we don't exist there, the barrel comes home with us.
Oh.
Because it's not, because.
So you're gonna take it with you?
Yeah, oh yeah, we would take it with it.
Okay,
with us.
all right.
So if that helps.
Yeah, that's fine.
New condition of sale.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't, you're leasing the building, aren't you, or do you own it? You leasing it?
We lease the building. We
Right.
do not own the property. We own the parking lot property.
But I concur with you too,
Okay.
Sue, about what is gonna happen later. We'll just have to take it by
And that could be addressed later.
each one,
Yeah.
each thing at a time, because if the Mellow Mushrooms wants to put a pizza outside, you know, that's 25 feet in diameter, they're gonna say, well, my neighbor got one.
That's why we're doing the CUP.
Yeah, fine.
Albert, you had a comment?
That's a huge point. CUP doesn't set
I
precedent.
said it in presence, that's right.
Right.
Well, I agree with Sue. I know where you're coming from, but I'm not out for a pound of flesh. I asked them and got an answer and established a fact that they didn't do this with any malice aforethought. They just made a mistake. If people didn't make mistakes, we wouldn't have jailhouses or town councils. So, you know, to me, there should be a little bit of reward, at least considered. The building they are in now was nothing but a plunder house when they bought it.
Yeah,
They've certainly increased the beauty of the downtown area. So
no argument.
I think they should be given a little consideration for that, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we pass this with the amendments that the planning board recommended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Hold on.
Wait, I'm sorry, we do have to possibly look at what the finding of facts, is that correct, Alan?
Correct.
Three of them.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
So do we put that in the motion then, Doug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In the future, we'll do this in pack, show you how, what we need for the board to do after the consideration this evening. If you refer to attachment 1B, 1-B.3, in the paragraph right under meeting date, it's about having here all the facts. Your motion needs to say that, that you have heard all the evidence and there's arguments presented at the reference hearing, and that you do consider to approve this, if that's what you're gonna do. We need to just somehow reference that paragraph in our motion.
So that needs to be stated in the initial motion, correct?
Are we gonna go through the findings of fact?
Well, we have the findings, and we can reference those back in the section here, because that comes out of the section. And in the future, we'll have an outline for you what the rest of the law.
Doug, would you like to add that to your motion?
That'll be fine.
It will be. A little confusing, but it will be.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, do I hear an amen?
Very good, Doug.
We're working.
Yeah, we hear an amen, that's good.
Alan, are we okay?
Yes, you're okay.
All right. Do we have a second?
Jim seconded.
Yeah, I second it.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed?
No.
And you'll have to get that motion from Alan if you don't know.
Well,
All right,
Okay.
motion passed. Thank you, ladies, thanks for coming in. You had- Nicole, is Nicole still here?
He said one attachment B. We would have to put it in there, paragraph 3. Also, I'm not sure.
Page is that on?
I'm guessing it's that.
43?
It's either that or 44.
Okay.
Financial report.
44.
I still want to know what this DOT.
All right, moving forward here, guys, we got the monthly financial presentation, December 2018 closing report.
Well, the problem is I lose things.
Sorry. We got Nicole up here, guys. She's going to go over the monthly financial presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to review with you our monthly financial report for fiscal month ending December 31st, 2018. As of the date of this report, we are approximately 50% into fiscal year 18-19. And you can see up here, this is a summary of some of the financial information I will be giving a little bit more detail on, just as a point of reference. So collections for the 2018 property taxes to date total $3,409,048, or 81% of budget. In looking at comparison to last fiscal year at this time, this is about 11% more collected at this point in the fiscal year than we had collected last year at this point. And that is mainly due to we had an influx of prepaid taxes, so we're seeing that we're ahead right now, so that's great. With collections being 1 month in arrears, we've collected 5 months of motor vehicle taxes for the new fiscal year, with collections totaling $45,503, or 57% of budget. This is 9% more collected at this point in the fiscal year than last fiscal year at this time. Sales tax revenues are collected 2 months in arrears, and we have collected a gross amount of $612,925, or 34%. This is 1% higher than collections last year at this time. And when I say those are gross sales tax collections, I just mean that is not net of the fee that we send back to Watauga County. Building permit collections are at $35,836, or 51% of budget, and zoning fees are at $4,355, or 43% of budget. These two numbers are consistent with budget pace, though they are lower than last fiscal year, just because we saw a spike in the building permits due to new developments such as the Chestnut Development Partners project on Chestnut Drive, and the zoning fee increases were associated with an elevated amount of new home applications seen during last fiscal year, as well as conditional zoning application fees. Our fourth utility billing for the new fiscal year will occur in late February, and billings for the current fiscal year are at $456,646, or 49% of budget for water charges, while sewer charges are at $385,026, or 51% of budget. This is about 2% below last year's budget pace for water and 1% below budget pace for sewer charges. Connection fees collected to date are at $20,550, or 121% of budget for water, and $29,047, or 182% for sewer. While these are lower than last year, we did in fact exceed budget expectations on these, and these are due to the collection of remaining fees associated with the Chestnut Ridge Development Partners project on Chestnut Drive. So these are collected as each building is permitted. Overall expenditures for the general fund are at 46%, which is 1% below last year at this time, and 35% for the water sewer fund. This is, the expenditure side of the water sewer fund is moderately higher than last year at this time, and that is due to AMI project funding being budgeted but not expended. So we looked a little better last year, even though we just weren't going to spend those funds. So when you look at a normal fiscal year, spending is approximately 5% below budget. So we're still doing, even though it's higher than last year, we're still below on our expenditures on the water sewer side. Overall revenue for the general fund is at 63%, approximately 2% above last year at this time, and 43% for the water sewer. This is 14% up for the year compared to last year, but that's also due to the AMI funding because we had those register fees that we never really billed, so that made our revenues look a little bit behind. Since many of our revenues are collected in arrears, the different things that I've mentioned are somewhat expected at this point in the fiscal year, and I really don't see anything to be concerned with at the time. The one department that I will mention is our public buildings department, and you can see on this list, they're at about 81%. So if you're looking saying, wait, she said we're at 50%, that's at 81%, and that is normal for the public buildings department because we pay our debt service out of there, and so most of our debt is annual or semi-annual payments, so we're going to run a little bit ahead, and it's okay and consistent with prior fiscal years. All other departments are in line with budget expectations on their department totals. As always, we keep a close eye on the line items within those budgets to try to keep those in line as best we can too. But kind of on the macro level, we're looking on the department level because that's how we adopt our budget. So I am happy to answer any questions that you might have. The only additional note I'll make is that our audit has been submitted to the North Carolina Local Government Commission, and so we have plans for the audit to be presented at the February Town Council meeting.
Any questions, comments, guys?
Thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks.
All right, moving forward, now, Mr. Freeman, did you have any comments on that, on the budget?
No, I think she's done a wonderful job. Everything seems to be in order in that, and would like to recommend that you all consider at least having this on a monthly basis. I've been talking to Nicole just to keep your fingers what's going on, and if you see something there that's a flag of concern, need to bring it up to staff at us, but it was for report purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Moving forward, the wastewater centrifuge/truck.
Well, this is good, because I'm gonna ask Matt to make this
Thank you, Matt.
presentation.
Twice in one night?
Twice in one night. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Currently, we are contracting sludge removal at our wastewater treatment plant with Honeywell Pumping out of Lenore at a cost of $70,000 per year. They are hauling that sludge to the wastewater treatment plant in Lenore. In the current fiscal year, $200,000 was allocated for the purchase of a centrifuge at the wastewater treatment plant for sludge processing in-house. We demoed a unit and determined that was not a viable option. The unit performed as we expected, did a great job. However, we could not find a facility that would be willing to accept our solid waste. So it kind of threw that out the window, nowhere to take it. It's great to process it, but can't do anything with it. In an effort to find a more cost-effective way to manage the sludge, we determined that purchasing our own truck and hauling the sludge to the Lenore wastewater treatment plant ourselves would be the most viable option. Nicole performed a cost-benefit analysis, assuming a 10-year useful life of the truck, and we estimated $170,000 savings over that 10-year period. That truck is very similar to a PTO-driven tanker used by the fire department now. I talked with Chief Graham. They're expecting to get 20 to 25 years out of that truck. So we fully expect, based on the usage, it would be frequent usage but not excessive, we should get well over 10 years out of this truck. We expect to average 2 trips per week to Lenore, depending on volume demands at the plant. There may be a week in the month that we take 3 trips. We have several CDL drivers, so we're very covered with drivers. We won't have to hire anybody else. We can do that in-house and not have any downtime with our employees. We'll also be able to utilize this truck for other uses where we currently rely on contracted services. Some examples would be pumping sewer manholes in the event of a blockage or sewer overflow. Currently, we have to get another outside company to come in to clear those manholes to allow us to clear the blockage. We can do that in-house now. When they do that, they also haul that waste back to our wastewater treatment plant anyway, so that way we can do it ourselves.
the floor drains in the shop, the holding tanks in the shop, also on water leaks, clearing water and silt from the leaks during the leak, and after we're done, clearing that excess silt and moisture from the hole before we backfill would also help with the integrity of backfilling those road cuts. We're assuming this truck will have to go out to bid. Based on preliminary cost analysis, we're expecting a purchase price of about $150,000. So that's what I've got, and I'll be glad to take any questions y'all have.
Was labor, the fact that you're how many people does it take to go in this truck to go down to Lenore?
One.
So it's one person out of what you normally do?
Correct.
And did you include gas?
We did.
Nicole, why don't you be in here also?
Tell me about tell me about the sludge thing, will you? How come
Nobody wants
nobody,
sludge?
we don't have any place to dump this sludge?
So the solid waste, we contacted several places. Caldwell County, Watauga County will not take it because they're simply a transfer station. Landfills are where it normally goes. Caldwell County will not take it because it's not generated within Caldwell County. They actually said they would take the percentage of sludge that was from Caldwell County, since part of Blowing Rock is in Caldwell, so that would be 2%. The closest place we could actually find to take it was Concord, and that's at the Republic facility in Concord, which would be a 4-hour round trip.
Where does the stuff go now? It's not sludge, what is it?
It is sludge, but it has a very high water content. He may be getting 2% solids, and it's going to the wastewater treatment plant in Lenore to their plant, and they process it, then deal with it through their permits.
But Lenore won't take the sludge anyplace.
What does Lenore do with their sludge?
Is that true?
They won't take the sludge from the centrifuge.
They won't take the solids from the
The solids.
centrifuge. Because the liquid, what we're taking is a higher liquid content. It's only 2% solid, so it's
Okay.
mostly water.
And there's no place in Watauga County that Watauga County can find for us to take sludge.
Correct,
The county told you that.
correct.
There are no farms or anything?
What do they do?
So we would have to have the land use application, that permit to do that, and that is not something we want to get involved
Well,
with.
that'd be tough.
And
What do other towns do?
If they have somewhere, some towns do the land use application where they can sell it and as a final product to consumers. Some haul
I
it.
mean, around here, in Watauga County. What do these other towns do with their stuff?
I think Beach Mountain has a belt press.
Yeah, and Watauga, they also do theirs in-house and they sell or land apply after that.
They've been doing that for
Yeah.
They do what? What
Land
do they do?
apply. They process their own sludge and then,
They stabilize it and sell it for fertilizer.
right.
Well,
See, the problem-
I guess I
correct me.
just don't understand.
Correct me if I'm mistaken, Matt. Lenore processes their sludge. Caldwell County takes their sludge because Lenore's in in Caldwell County.
Correct.
Lenore will take our liquid sludge because it goes straight to their wastewater treatment plant. But Caldwell will not take our dried sludge because we're not in Caldwell County.
Yeah, it's going to two separate facilities.
Yeah, am I right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Well, where does this outfit that now takes our stuff, where do they take it? This water
To call.
To the Lenore,
to the
to
Lenore
Lenore
facility?
water, wastewater treatment plant.
And they charge us 70 grand to do that,
Correct, that's
transport.
70,000 a year.
a year to do that?
Correct.
And you think that this truck that you're gonna get is gonna last you 10 years?
I think it'll last us well beyond 10 years.
Do you?
I do.
Do you think you'd ever use it for, like proactive measures with your sewage lines? You know, keeping them flowing and stuff like that instead of just repair stuff?
It would
I
be
mean, it might
mainly,
be a actual,
it would be mainly repair,
Yeah.
mainly blockage issues. We have sewer jetters where we're required by our permits for our collection system to wash at least 10% of our sewer every year. So we try to do more than that, and obviously camera where we can, and be proactive as we can with those lines. That particular truck would be more of a reactive measure, or more of a fix for, or assistance for a fix for.
So
to
in this
blockage.
spreadsheet, Matt, you did not, there were no numbers accounted for what we could use it, but we're currently paying others to do the job for, like the flushing of the sewer lines or whatever, am I correct?
Right, I think Nicole and I looked at that, and over 6 or 7 years, it was, yeah, about 5 or 6. It wasn't a large number, but the response time is what was attractive to us. You know, we wouldn't have to wait, you know, sometimes we can call and somebody will say it's 3 hours before we can get you a truck.
So over this, well, let's just take 5 years. Over a 5-year period, you don't see any increase in personnel in order to accomplish this?
Correct.
None.
None. Essentially, that trip to Lenore will be 2 hours,
Yeah, max.
tops, there and back. It's 20 miles there, 20 miles back,
How many times a month?
twice a week.
Twice a week.
Is that correct?
And that's all in your analysis, isn't it? All that labor costs and things like that. But
And we budgeted 200 already for it.
and
so-
that's probably gonna be that too.
And you said it's 150?
And then you're gonna finance this for how many years? 3? So for the first 3 years, it's a pretty much of a wash?
When you factor in debt service, it will be close to a wash. If you look at the.
So we really don't have any savings at all until the fourth year, is that correct?
And that's also assuming they don't go up in price on us.
Well, everything's going to go up.
Well, it's true.
I mean,
Matt, the
labor
price-
goes up, everything
the price
goes
you
up.
talked about for the truck, Matt,
Yeah.
did that include the tank that you're
Yes.
around 160?
Around, yeah, 150, 160. The tank, I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head. The tank came in just under 50,000, and we're assuming around.
Plastic, stainless?
That was a stainless tank, I
Stainless.
believe, for them.
How much did
Or
your truck
aluminum.
cost?
It was an aluminum tank.
How much did our truck cost at the fire department? How much was that truck?
Or tanker?
Yeah,
What, lifespan was around 250, wasn't it?
Our tanker in 2007 was 170 something.
Yeah.
so it's gonna be somewhere around, because you said it's like that, isn't it?
It's similar,
It's
yes.
similar, isn't it? So we could really expect 170 to 200 right now for the price of that.
Like I said, the tank came in just under 50,000, and that's a set price. All the vendors with the cabin chassis are using that company to build the tank, so we feel confident on that number.
Okay.
The chassis, cabin chassis for the truck, that's kind of what we're bidding out, whether it's Freightliner or International. We assume that's gonna come in around the probably $90,000 mark.
Guys, what do you think?
I think it's a breath of fresh air just blowing through here.
You haven't been to the wastewater treatment plant lately, have you?
At long last, I see county employees led by Matt thinking forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion, we do all that stuff.
Would anybody like to make a second that we do all that stuff? Any further discussion?
Good job, man.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
Wait, we have,
Clarification on this, and I know you got one estimate, but because of the price, the estimated price of the cost of this thing, I'm gonna request that they go out for formal bids. And,
I hope so.
Bid package versus actually using what we got on.
okay.
Just for information. You got it okay?
And then he'll come back here with the final
You'll-
price?
Yeah, on a formal bid process, once he gets it and we look at it within budget, we have to bring that back to the board to actually approve the bid under that process.
How long does it take to get this stuff? This truck? So, 4 or 5 months?
4 to 5 months, yes.
We get our logo
So
on
that'll
it?
be in, that would be in next year's budget.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good job.
Did we vote?
We did.
Moving forward here, you gonna address the adverse weather situation?
I think we got the meeting
Yeah.
calendar, Hillary, right? Yeah, the meeting. Oh, no, you're right,
Adverse weather,
you're right.
3 for 3.
Yeah, you're 3 for 3, I'm an error. Inside your package, you'll find that there's an old policy that we had in regards to closing down town halls and payment of essential and non-essential people. There was an update to that policy, which you do have a copy of in there, which basically states that when the offices are closed, non-essential, non-working people do not get paid for. So that policy was changed. Well, what happened, I guess, a few weeks ago, as you all know, we went into a state of emergency type situation. A number of the employees could not get to work. I mean, the administrative, basically staff. The officers were closed. We were closed down here. Of course, we had Public Works and everybody else out there working. And the question really came back is some of the employees saying, well, I've lost up to 10 hours of pay and that I was dependent upon because of the policy. And they asked me basically if that was the case, if I could do something about it. And in my opinion, I could not. And what I did allow the employees to do, if they could, is go ahead and if they use their vacation time or comp time to help bridge, or I also have, and this is the case in the police department, I believe, I don't see him, where if they, the secretary had worked at home because she was receiving phone calls and we could document it, I had no problem going ahead and paying that. So, what is before you is to ask if the board would like to leave the policy as it is, revert to the former policy, which basically gave the manager the authority to change to pay or not. Or, if we leave it like it is, I have no problem in this particular case. We're talking about $2,900 roughly, is to pay those employees. So really 3 things. I promise the employees I'll bring them back to council for their consideration. And that's all I'm doing here this evening is bringing it back. You do see my opinion. I believe that I had inside the summary, and that's just my opinion. It's up to council if they want to change the policy or leave the policy alone. Be glad to answer any questions.
Do any of our employees have capabilities of working from home?
Some of them do, I think, yeah, through the internet.
Through the
connection,
portal?
Yeah. Some,
Not all.
no.
Is it a correct statement to say that the employees we're talking about work for the town manager?
Yes, sir. I hope, sometimes I've wondered, but yes. Yes, sir.
But I mean, by definition,
Yes, sir.
they work for
Yes,
you,
sir.
not council.
Yes, sir. But you said policy.
You're right.
I have no, was you done, Albert?
Yeah.
I have no problem paying them this time, but I do have a problem. We have it, and like I said, I'll just use where I just retired from. At ASU, we have essential and non-essential employees. When that decision is made to shut down the university, non-essential do not come and non-essential do not get paid. The people that come and do the work get paid, that's listed as essential. And I think we should designate going forward with this, who's essential, who's non-essential, and when that decision is made, then that's how it should be going forward. That's my suggestion.
Do we need a motion to
Well.
That's
if
pretty
you're gonna
much what
change-
it is right now.
Is that
Well,
what
it
it
seems
is
like
right
that
now?
wasn't clear.
Yeah.
It seems like that wasn't
That
clear.
seems to me that's,
But for some
and everybody,
reason,
does everybody know whether they're essential or non-essential? The
Well,
town manager
they
decides that,
should,
doesn't it?
but past experience, it all depends upon the situation, the emergency that you have.
Well,
In some
and that
cases,
should
you
be,
may- Yeah, in some cases, you may have to pull in administrative staff to help out.
well, I think that, I agree with what he says, but I think that the town manager needs the flexibility, depending upon the situation, to call the shots of who he thinks ought to be working. And then they ought to be paid accordingly. If he needs them, then we call them in and they gotta pay him.
But the question comes up, no problem there, we do that now, is those that I have identified because the situation is non-essential, do they get paid? And by our policy now,
If you call them up and tell them that you need them, you
They're
need to
essential.
get paid.
Yeah.
that's what, distinguishing the clarification there.
Yeah, I think they need to know, because their budgets depend on it, if they're gonna be essential or non-essential when a storm happens. And if there's a possibility that they might become essential, but it needs to be clarified ahead of time, so they're not doing their family budget on that. I feel like,
Correct.
I don't know that that's clear or not.
Well, I think, if I may say something, I think the policy should probably stay the same. But yet, you can all, like tonight, he's asking us to deviate from that policy. That would probably be the,
Yeah, the question really comes up, we can work that out, I believe managers determine who's essential now. The question comes up, like the old policy allowed the manager to pay the people that stayed home. New policy doesn't do that. That's the issue.
and I didn't,
Going forward.
I didn't like the part of being able to, if they've stayed at home and not had to do anything, they should not be paid, just like somebody that's out here shoveling the snow and pushing the sidewalks are here. So, you know, that's where I kind of have to draw the line in.
I was confused. Is attachment 4A and 4B in our, I mean, they're almost like opposite. So I didn't know which was the present one.
The 4B is, oh wait a minute, excuse me, the 4A is the present one, not pay regular salaries to some employees for not working when others are required.
Right.
That's the existing policy.
So where's 4B from?
4B is the prior policy, I understand, that had before this adoption.
Oh,
To allow, in an event, it's the decision of the town manager will also determine whether to compensate.
Oh.
And that's what the little
okay.
asterisk. So I don't know the history of that, other than evidently the policy was
So-
changed.
So you saying that if we wanted to keep what's in effect right now, section 29, and still give the town manager some flexibility, we needed to amend that section 29 with that paragraph that says, in the event the town manager can do that?
Yeah,
We need
the
to
question
add
is
it?
back to the old one, the compensation, deleting the determination by the town manager. That's all.
Yeah, so we'd have to add that in there.
Yeah, or revert exactly back to the language of the first one.
Well, it seems to have the last paragraph on page 49 in there. It seems to be covered.
Well, when was that thing passed, you guys know? I mean, if it's, well, some council thought it was important to change it sometime. To change it from to change page 50 to 49.
And your recommendation was to keep 49 like it is?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm going from a business standpoint, from my past experience in regards to dealing with hurricanes. We're literally out of power in the town for 4 or 5 days, and those people staying home, and we worked to death our employees that were there, my opinion, going down the road from a business sense, you don't know what, I don't know, but you're out, and our people are really pushing, and is it really fair when you start looking the other side of the coin? I'm on there on the tractor and things of that sort, in cold weather and doing everything else for 2 days or 3 days to get this town back open. You know, but then again, I need Nicole to help pay the payroll checks or to pay those employees. So, you know, I mean, there's an argument on the other side, but that's where I stand.
So
What I've got.
essentially, your recommendation would be to continue with the present policy, but yet approve the $2,400.
Yeah, or let it come back if you want.
Approve the one
And let
time.
it
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
case by
case by
case
case.
basis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't we
I
do
thought
that?
we already approved it. The $2,900.
I'm not aware of that.
No,
No?
no, we didn't.
Oh, gosh.
I did
So
not.
they're waiting for that?
There was a memo out from me, I believe, that's saying I was not gonna do that to y'all unless it was changed.
Okay, so
But
what do,
anyway,
Do you have
I-
like, Doug, you make a motion?
He's already.
It's pretty much what I said earlier. I'll make the motion that we keep the policy as is with the designation, what is non-essential and essential, but we make a one-time payment this time and pay them for the storm hours.
Do we have a second?
second.
And any further discussion? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, calendar.
Aye.
Did you get it?
Aye. Calendar.
Inside your packet, I don't know if Hillary wanted to present this, but we got thinking about, just a heads up, you know, upcoming planning, an opportunity at the beginning of the year to at least, we know there's regular meeting dates, you got your retreat on there again, and an opportunity here to adopt, some towns do this in cities, adopt a calendar or make any changes on there, so at least from a planning purpose, you know what those dates are as we go forward. Now, this doesn't have nothing to do with call meetings and workshops and things of that sort, but regular things that you know you can control. So we're giving you the opportunity to look ahead and see what you think, and feel free to change any of those dates. And Hillary?
One thing that we noticed after, when we were writing it on the calendar, is the budget public hearing, the 27th, that is Memorial Day Monday, so it would be the following Monday, which is, I believe, June 3rd, for the budget public hearing. So that would be a week before the regular council meeting when we would adopt.
On the department meetings, I can't make it until 5:30 due to my work situation.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm happy to go past that. I just can't, I don't get off work till 5.
That's what we need to know.
And the budget work sessions, I'm actually out of the country. Sorry about that.
So change.
We'll go with you.
Change the 20th to start at 5:30, Sue?
That'd be great.
Okay. So you'll reschedule the May meetings? Hillary?
I'll talk to Nicole, I think she did the budget. So, yeah, we'll talk about that.
So it's the 20th and the 21st.
So when, in May, when do you leave, Sue?
17th.
So then,
And get back, it's 2 weeks. I'll have to look on my calendar.
so it would need to be prior to the 17th.
Okay. And you're gonna put the public hearing at what date?
5:30.
May 27th.
May 27th. You're moving it to,
June 3rd.
At 5 o'clock. Is that okay?
yeah.
Now, did you say that you couldn't do, just so we can kind of have some things to play with for the budget work sessions, if we had to do like a one day, you could do it all in one day, could you do that?
Starting at 5, which day are you talking about?
Any of the budget work sessions, like instead of doing 3 days, could you do one day, like do a whole day?
Well, see, I'm out of the country for that whole thing.
Well, if we changed,
If you change the date,
or would it be better to try to do a couple of days?
on a Monday, I get off at 12, so I can be here at 1. I don't know if that matters. That helps. So I get back, let's see, Memorial Day, I get back on the 29th.
So we need to do it before you go.
Right,
We'll play around.
okay, I'll send you my dates.
We'll
So
revise
the-
the calendar, bring it back.
So the budget meeting's at 5.
Send me the list.
We'll work on it.
Five. Budget meeting
On June 3rd, you're changing the May 27th to June 3rd.
starts at 5.
Right.
Yeah,
But she's changing the date.
yeah, I
So-
know.
Okay.
I wrote it down.
And let's see, mid-year retreat. This is the 25th, that's a Tuesday, if you could use that to, if that can be changed to a Monday, then I can make that.
Well, Sue, there's a lot of us. Let me look at my calendar as well.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, that's why we're here.
Well, I didn't bring mine with me. I don't got far ahead.
Why don't we suggest that,
You want us
just getting
to
with
send-
her and save us some time, we'll do a revised one and bring it back to y'all. But I'm glad we're having this input.
Yeah.
Trying to get ahead of ourselves.
Right. I think it's
That's
great.
good.
How about Skype?
Well, I can plan around my schedule around it if it's set in a day,
In the evening or day?
anytime.
Oh, okay.
And I'll bring you my court dates for a year because I will be
Do you know, do you meet certain days? Thursday?
Every day.
here every day, Tuesday through
Oh,
Friday.
You're
man.
retired,
So
Dad.
you need a Monday too?
Did you forget? You can go to work today.
No, he's, all right.
He's
So
still.
I'll get back with you.
Federal grand jury.
Do we need a motion?
Okay,
No,
what's next?
I think we'll concur, let us, everybody get with Hillary, coordinate.
Okay.
Yeah.
One and bring it back.
Thank you for.
Hillary, send me
doing
out
We'll do
the
the
Yeah, but
other
this is
changes
great.
that have been
do
made.
the best we
I'll
can.
look at my calendar.
The changes that we talked about, send it out. and
Okay.
Let everybody see if they have any other comments.
And the press can get it so they know when to come.
All right, let's see. Got the Chamber of Commerce, Savor proposed change request. Charles Harden. Good evening, Charles. How are you?
You drive, you want me to drive?
Savor. Savor.
I'll ask you that, you can use the map.
It's a credit card.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for hearing our request tonight. So this is the 12th year the Blue Ridge started as Blue Ridge Wine and Food Festival back in 2007. Many of you remember the old name. It's now called Savor. And so this year, based on a lot of feedback we got last year, we have decided that we would like to request to move the Saturday event, the main tasting event for Savor, up out of the Maple Street parking lot onto Main Street from Sunset to Morris. Back in 2010 or 11, I believe it was 2010, we closed Main Street for a festival called Heritage Days, which was to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Blue Ridge Parkway. We closed Main Street from Sunset all the way to Chestnut, which was much more than we're asking for this time. We would like to move the Saturday event, which is roughly 12 to 4. It could be 1 to 5, it could be 12 to 4, we're not exactly sure yet, up to Main Street. This is the wine tasting event only. So we've had the big tent down on the Maple Street parking lot all these years. We've had events in there on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and even on Sunday. So we're proposing that we give back the Maple Street parking lot So it would be open for parking again. And that we put on Main Street between Sunset and Morris on the west side, some tents along there for our tasting. We would barricade off the street and we would make sure that we've talked to Aaron and Kent and everybody about that, just like we did in 2010 for that event. We would have regulation measures, which we already have in place. We do not no alcohol is poured to anybody without a wristband. So the wristbands are sold as tickets. And so the people that are pouring the wine tastings would only pour to those who had the wristbands. We would have the big barricades at Sunset and at Morris Street to close the streets, and as well as Laurel Lane, because we would have to close that coming up. We will have limited tastings so that to control how many drunks, people getting drunk we would have out there. We would hopefully see that a whole lot. We would also have some food samples along the way. We do not plan to compete with our downtown businesses. Whereas in the big tent on Saturdays, we have had some vendors in there selling various things. Our vendors now will be the people who have businesses along Main Street. We really won't have any food. We'll have some light tastes, of little things, but the real food, we do not bring in any food vendors. That will be Sixpence Pub and Story Street Grill and the other restaurants that are along Main Street. The tasting part will be, as I said, on the west side of the street. So that's on the side of the Martin House. We have to maintain the eastern side of the street. We have to maintain a certain amount of width there for the fire trucks, emergency services, vehicle access if there were fire down there. We've already covered all that with Kent. We will also be paying off-duty police officers, which we already do for the event, to maintain, control of anything that might happen. We will make sure that we have plenty of tasteful signage out there to direct traffic to parking. There's not going to be anything impeding parking at either the decks or anywhere back in there, but we will need to direct traffic to those decks, so we will put signage out for that. We have, as I said, already worked with the police and fire to ensure safety and efficiency. With the DOT, we have already covered that as far as that being a federal highway. We did that in 2010, and so we can get that permission. Benefits, as we see it for this, moving this like this, is that this will drive more customers into the downtown businesses and encourage local commerce. Last year, we had lots of complaints of people that didn't even know we were having an event the weekend that we had the event, because they said it was stuffed down in that hole and people couldn't find it. They didn't know it was down there. So the merchants downtown say, kind of complain that all the activity is drawn down in that hole down in Maple Street parking lot, and it pulls people off the main street. We don't know if either of those two things are fact, but that's what we've heard back from consumers and businesses. We do think that we'll have a safer downtown environment because of the barricading of the street. We will not be mixing cars with pedestrians as much, so that should make that segment of Main Street safer. It will open up the Maple Street lot for parking again. And as I mentioned earlier, we are not going to impede any traffic reaching the two decks or the flow around town. We will be controlled with, in accordance with ABC regulations and permits. We work with the North Carolina ABC Commission on the event, and they tell us what we can and cannot do with these tasting events. And we believe that this is on brand with other communities similar to Blowing Rock that have their festivals on Main Street. We have had people, since the 2010 event, we've had more people come and ask us, please put another event, another festival on Main Street. So this is the one that we think would work best in that way. This is a diagram of the area. The yellow bars indicate the pedestrian-only traffic area. The red lines are the barricades, and I remember in 2010, one of the barricades we had was a fire truck at Sunset. That is a possibility in addition to a barricade, because we have to have fire truck presence, and so a big fire truck parked across the street there is not gonna, nobody's gonna drive through that. The EMS and first aid station will be located at the north end of the area that we're talking about, because we will need that. We'll have plenty of volunteers to help us regulate wristband access, and the whole perimeter. We realize that there's access points throughout that perimeter, but we will have volunteers there helping us watch for wristbands. And we'll, as I said, pay police officers, as we always do for the wine festival anyhow. And we will position our tents in accordance to the fire department requirements, so that they're not blocking. They're not going to be on the side of the street where most of the stores are, so it's not going to be tents right up against stores. It's going to be on the other side of the street. That's our proposal. We have surveyed, we have been out and talked to merchants, not only in that affected area there, in those 2 blocks, but merchants, certainly those merchants, but also ones on the other end of it as well, of both ends of the affected area. And right now, we have 24 businesses here that have signed that they are in full support of this. So, realizing that this all came about rather quickly through the Christmas holidays, and we were in a time crunch, we were not able to get a lot of these folks, and now they're gone. They're either gone to trade shows or they're on vacation. They're just not here. But we do have 24 of them that have supported it completely.
Can you give us a copy of that?
Of
the list of people that are supporting it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's 3 to a page, so we can make
Just,
copies.
yeah, that would help. How many people do you expect?
Oh, can I answer that
Sure.
one more question? To your question about the people that are supporting it, we do know of one that does not. So I need to tell you that in full disclosure.
Huh?
In full disclosure, we have one merchant that does not support this.
Okay.
Can you tell us who that is?
I'd rather not.
Okay,
That's it.
we'll just look at the list and see who's not on there.
Well, there's 24 in support of. There's more that will support it, but we do know of one that has voiced that they are not in support of it.
I've got a question, because I've always been fascinated with the tie-downs for the
What's the
tent
date of this?
in Maple Street.
I think it's May 4th.
What are you gonna do to prepare for that,
It's not on
for the tents, so they're not blowing all around town? I mean, I know that you
Well-
probably can't do anything like that at such short, I don't know.
No,
What's the
so
plan for?
just the background on the Maple Street lot, we put $25,000 worth of underground anchoring system down there. So it's a permanent fixture and, it can always be used. On these tents will not be as big as that tent. First of all, we can't get that size tent on Main Street.
Right.
That tent is huge. So this tent will be more of a 15 or feet wide tent by maybe 30 or 40 feet, maybe a couple of those even. But they'll be long, skinny tents rather than that one big one.
So they don't have the wind problems that the
They
big one
won't
does?
have as much wind, but the other thing is we can't anchor those. We can't, we won't be driving holes in the asphalt or anything like that. But the way they anchor those is with water barrels.
Are these,
Like at
tents like that?
They're done that way.
Where will these tents be, on the street itself?
Yes, on the southbound lane.
And when is
pretty
this?
much.
What month is this in?
May 2nd through 5th. And this would be the 4th.
Yeah,
This would be May 4th?
you all will have to approve this tonight.
What, when you were talking about the wristbands, are you gonna let only people with wristbands go down into that yellow section?
We won't be able to control, we won't be able to keep everybody out of the area, but the people will have to have a wristband to have alcohol poured.
And how are you gonna determine how many drinks they get?
Whether they can walk or not?
Well, you said you were limiting the drinks, and I just didn't understand how you're gonna do that.
Yes, we're gonna use some token system to do that,
Okay.
to control that.
And what's the number of people that you're expecting?
Well, over the years, this number has declined. At one point, we used to have 2,000 people for that event. We're probably down to 500 or so, and we are hoping that we have 500 or so.
And where do the wine and the beer vendors park?
School.
Okay. And what about bathrooms?
We will bring in, we'll, just like we do down at Maple Street, we bring in that big trailer restroom. So we'll probably bring that, I'm not sure exactly where we'll put it, we'll work on that, but it could be down at Laurel Lane. That's where we did it in 2010, behind Mayview Plaza. It was on the one lane of Laurel Lane back there.
It won't mess up their new pavers?
We'll make sure of that, but it will be beyond the pavers, but it's just a trailer. You know, it's got a water hose and an electrical cord to it.
That's cool.
I know you probably are going to, but you are going to, like, at Ransom, put signs up that says road closed, no through traffic, road closed ahead, or Laurel Lane.
At Laurel Lane, we will.
Okay.
Ransom, though, it won't be. Sunset will be open fully.
Yeah, to Main.
Right, but I mean, you'll have something there that says no right turn. If you're gonna block it
On
there.
On Morris?
No.
On, not Sunset, on Laurel Lane, and what about, will you need anything on Morris?
No,
Is it gonna extend to Morris? It's gonna stop right before you get to Morris?
it'll be inside of that.
Okay.
Morris traffic will flow just like it does. Laurel Lane, back at Wallingford Street, is where we'll have signage that tells people it's closed, so they don't get up in here and can't go around.
So you're only closing a third of Laurel Lane, aren't you?
Well, we have to close, technically, we
thing.
have to put the barricade all the way down at Wallingford.
Yeah.
So, but local access to those parking lots can still take place. We won't have anything in there, except the bathroom trailer, which will be up this way.
What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, 2010 thing was a huge success. I mean, it was really big. Everybody wants to do it since 2010. I would serve Hershey bars because I don't drink.
Okay. We can do that.
What kind of food are you gonna be serving them since they're all gonna be drinking? Are you required?
We're not doing meal replacement there. Some years at this event, that's what I call it, is meal replacement. We've had enough food in there that people ate their entire lunch and dinner in there, essentially. We don't want to do that. We want Sixpence Pub, Story Street Grill, and Speck Trout to have all those customers for their meals. So we're gonna have enough food, just small bites, but not a meal replacement.
Is there a way to allow food trucks along there?
No, ma'am.
You're not having any competing vendors.
No, from the town. I mean, if they wanted
Oh.
to set up.
We could, if we had a restaurant in town that had a food truck, we could allow such, yeah.
If the what?
If if we had a restaurant in town that had a food truck.
That has one? No,
But-
none of them have one?
Yeah.
I don't know of the one in town that has it.
Why don't they have one?
Well, you know, Woodlands has the closest thing to a food truck, it's really a catering wagon. And the Mellow Mushroom has something similar, but other than those two, nobody else has one. And we've just never been, I mean, we're the chamber, we're supportive of our member businesses, and so we're not gonna let anybody from outside come in here with a food truck.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
What do
the
we need to
in-town
do?
people, it looks like you've got so much room. I don't know, maybe you'll fill all that up with tents. To have
We
a
do.
in-town, I'm not saying bring out-of-town food trucks in, I'm saying they're right there.
Yeah.
If they had, if they wanted to put a tent and run their food across the street, right there, so that you don't have to go in and sit down.
Well, they can do that without any issues whatsoever, like the tavern or Speckled Trout.
Yeah.
We could give vendor spaces to restaurants that are in town that are not on that, in that segment.
I think that would be a great idea. And then,
Do we
Motion to approve.
have a
second,
motion to approve? Do we have a second? We have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Charles, will you come back next year and tell us how it went?
Yes.
Since it's something new, let's sort of assess what pros and cons and what worked, what didn't.
There's a lot of, the whole wine festival or this kind of festival, things have changed so much in the 12 years from when we started this. We were one of only 3 in North Carolina in 2007.
It's big now.
And now they've just got them in every town. So we have to keep refreshing, we have to keep finding new ways to make it special.
All right, so we have a first and a second. Any further discussion, guys? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Okay. All right, official reports and comments. Guys, I got a request that I got in the mail. It should be in this packet. It was a proclamation that we consider School Choice Week, January 20th to the 26th. Are you all in favor of that?
not at all.
You're
I
not in-
agree.
Not in
Not
favor.
at all.
They're
in
taking
favor.
money from the public school system.
Yep, I'm against it. Blowing Rock's got excellent public schools.
Okay.
We shouldn't open that ball of worms up, or whatever you say.
Okay, so,
I had a problem with it too.
all right, then that takes care of that. Not a problem.
Did you have a problem?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it
Yeah,
was sent.
thank you for
it-
letting us
Yeah, it was
look,
sent
'cause
to
you
me,
prob-
and,
Well, you probably get it, the proclamation,
ugh,
whatever day, for every day of the week. So thanks for running that by us. I just think that it's an asset to our town, this public school. That's why we moved here from Alabama.
okay.
So I don't.
Easy, easy. Thank you. Very good.
You knew Clemson was gonna be.
All right, council members. Albert, do you have anything you want to bring to the table this evening? Very good, Albert. Jim?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just reiterate, I know why she moved here.
Oh, okay. Would you let us in on it later?
My boy.
Jim?
I'm at loss, yeah. You all will be receiving in the, on your emails, a list of people that over the last 3 years that have applied for some of our boards. I've been advised that Hillary says we don't have an awful lot, although we got some. What I'd really like to have you do, if you would, or think about, is look at some of those names. If you know somebody pretty well, if you wouldn't mind calling them up and see if they wouldn't be interested to serve on some board that they would consider for this year. And if they would, then they need to come down to Town Hall and fill out a form so that we have it for our retreat. But we do need to get some more names of people to serve on some of these boards. And I thought maybe the best way to do it is some people have, in the last 3 years, have said, yeah, I'll serve, but they didn't get appointed. So let's call them back and see Hey,
But make sure you tell them that that doesn't guarantee them a position.
oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so
And will you
that's,
send it out through the major email, because I got it. Okay.
so that's all I have.
Thank you, Jim.
So we've extended the deadline to Monday, because we had said, the night, so extended it to Monday. So I'm gonna resend an email out, and then like he said, he suggested calling some of the people who have applied this past money on.
Can you resend that to us so we can forward it to people?
And I will tell you, the mass email list that I sent out is,
We gotta go
there's
over
like
which one.
almost, I wanna say 700 names on there. So we've got, I mean, there had to meet certain requirements, but it's gone out to a huge amount of people.
Yeah, this is
Yes,
for
I'll forward
our
it to the
local
board
ones.
to get it to whoever you would like to.
Good.
All right.
What is the cutoff date?
We, extended it to Monday, the 14th, because we'll have to start preparing the packet for retreat. So if we can get it by Friday, Monday evening.
Well, we amended the advertisement for new manager was open until filled. Remember?
Now, I think that you have to, well, you have, the board appointees, that takes place in February, I believe.
Mhm.
At the February meeting, is when you get that. So, I mean, we can do that. If you want to say until the February 12th, but you just discuss it at retreat. So that's why we're trying to get as
Right.
many as we could, so you could discuss. And then the new, it would be, March would be with our executive to start on that board.
Right.
Sue?
I've had a concern about the new sidewalk and people parking on it. That's the new one we just did on Park Avenue. I think I sent you, did you
Has
get
no
mine?
curb.
There's
Huh?
been a,
There's no curb.
Kevin gone.
Well, basically, we put a sidewalk out and they're
There's a letter
they're
in the
blocking
mail
the
about it.
sidewalk.
I'm not
I
aware.
sent you, I thought I sent you an email about it.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Sue, in another conversation today, and I wasn't looking for that, except I did bring it up because I spoke for the gentleman that's causing the problem here. Relayed what he wanted council to hear. And there's been a rather succinct letter sent to him. Might clear up the problem. I can tell you.
That he might understand?
He won't have a problem understanding it.
Okay. Okay.
Doug, what you got?
I've got,
Oh, my God. Okay, we're gonna call a recess.
Should we take a break?
And I'll let you know, well, no, this is nothing that we'll be acting on tonight, but what it is, this is a draft timeline and everything that Jim and I and Jim and Tonda have been working on. We'd like to hand this out for y'all's information right now for y'all to look at. And what we need, any changes, any recommendations, anything, we need back by Friday because we're putting together, we're gonna get to meet one last time before the retreat. So we wanna get a lot of the stuff finalized for our main discussion and everything at the retreat, so.
Good work.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm assuming you want me to.
Yeah.
Pass them baseboards for me to shuffle every time before you deal every ripple.
Okay.
All right, thank you,
So
Doug.
you want us
Thank
to
you,
get
Jim.
back to you by Friday?
yeah, if y'all would look this draft over, and like I said, it's only a draft. Jim, you wanna add anything, or Mr. Freeman, would you like to add anything?
Do want to touch it, you also have a matrix in there on the applications. Of course, it's confidential, but I think it's highlighted in there that if you get a chance, you're welcome to start scheduling to see every one of those applications.
Yeah.
And start taking notes, because I think one of your council members has, and it's already took him over 4 hours
Right now,
No more.
right now we have 18 in, but yes, anytime that anybody wants to start looking at any of those applications. And we've also put you a thing in there for where, when you're looking them over, for you to be able to make notes. I think it's your next page.
And we just refer.
Also-
So we have to come in here?
Yeah, you have to come in here and read them. You
Okay.
can't take them off the premise.
Okay.
All right, Virginia?
Good work. I still don't know what DOT thing that y'all voted on.
Oh,
Email. I never saw that, so
That
if we
was,
could
that
pull
was,
that up real quick. What was it?
that was the Middle Sound Loop,
What?
the Middle Sound Loop funds.
you received, let me back up real quickly, and maybe I'm just going back to the process in this, and as I'm looking in, this has gone back for a number of years in the minutes, and talking about it, and what had finally happened is you got a grant of approximately $1.7 million from the NCDOT, and there's a local share involved,
okay.
$145,000.
You said
And-
Middle Sound. I was like, what is that? Middle Fork Loop.
Middle Fork.
You got it.
Yeah,
That
got
was
it.
close.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Trick question.
He's back at the beach.
And I just like y'all that, since it's finalized, even though everything's been approved, is let's get it in the minutes as this is the starting point and not get back to what we had in sunset.
Yeah.
How much did we talk about back then?
Yeah.
Term
Sounds good.
pass through applicable here.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's.
Thank you, Virginia. Sorry about the clerical error on that.
It's okay.
All right,
Because
do
there's
we-
sound to see, so I was like,
That was tricky. Do we have, Jim, anything?
I think
Who
he
has
has
it, Tom?
the attorney, if he has any.
Alan, do you have anything that you would, no? All right. Do I? No. Well, do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Hey, we have a manager.
Yeah. Did you want,
oh, the manager's report.
it's not quite as thick as Doug, so.
Okay.
I just have some notes. You usually ask the manager, and there's a few brief reports for you. One is Hillary, again, stressing the retreats coming up. She's got to get the packet. We got to work on it. Had a staff meeting with departments. They've seen your things. If you have anything specific that you want background on to make sure it's in that packet, get with Hillary this week. So at least they can start making copies and get that back
I have
up.
a list of the topics that will be discussed, if any of you want.
I would.
Yeah.
And then if you
I
can
think
just,
you
like
get,
you said,
I think you sent
elaborate.
us something.
I did. If you can just elaborate, because some of them, we don't know what direction in your head you're wanting to go with that, so we need to know so we can get background.
Yeah, we're just gonna get the background and get them in an agenda format for you. Secondly, just as an FYI on this thing, and Matt's working on it too, and Jennifer's going to, is in your last audit, it was pointed out and suggested that the way we do our uniforms to our public works employees, I took a picture of, and recreation, in the process we use may be under the IRS rules taxable as a benefit to that employee. And this is whereby there's not really a distinguishing, other than just a symbol on here, something that distinguish them other than the town of Blowing Rock. I mean, something on there has to show like stripes on them, or reflective gear, or something property of town of Blowing Rock. Now, why this comes up, you either do that, is because the way I understand we do here is we actually purchase the uniforms for the employee, and they maintain them. We don't control them. That they wash them, they clean them, and things, and so that could be a potential taxable benefit, and I don't think you want that. What other people have done in the past, and I guess we have here, is usually we have a vendor out there that provides them, and they provide that back to the vendor to clean and maintain. So, I hate to say, to get around it, Matt's looking at either changing the style so it's not, if they go on the street, it looks different. You can tell, or maybe strengthening up our policy, saying, when we don't really say in there, you can't use town uniforms off duty hours. So that's something that's coming up that we're looking at, just kind of make you aware of that.
Okay,
If they come in off hours, do they have to put that uniform on?
That's back to the policy of the department, yeah.
So they have to,
should.
like if, I'm sorry, if there's a leak in a line, they have to bring the uniform?
Yeah, yeah. The second thing is, we've been talking about the sled area. I know it's different. Jennifer's worked with the risk management. You got an email copy in there saying what would constitute an area that they could say is completely safe, and she can coordinate that to continue that. I think, what is that, Glen Burnie Trailhead, they looked at all areas. But, that's.
So they think that's a better area?
They can endorse that, yes, with some signage.
So they're gonna get all the people that are parking in there out?
Well, during the snow, there may not be a lot of people parking
They
in
wanna
there.
do that instead of Devant Field. I mean, it'd be a great place to put snow. We've got, I mean, with this last snow.
Well, so I know the issue was the sledding, and so the one thing about the burning drive with the trailhead is that typically nobody's parked down there by the time it's snowing, so it's really easy for them to block off. There's a hill that's, you can go down and sled that comes out to a nice open area, you know, but she said just make sure you sled at your own risk. I mean, people can sled.
Anywhere.
Honestly, people can sled anywhere, that's what she said. People can still sled in front of Doug's house if they want to, but the issue is the town blocking off an area. So, I mean, if people want to go on Devant and sled, they can go on Devant and sled, but this is, if the town wants to say no, you know, this is a sledding area or a snow play area, then her recommendation is to use the Glen Burnie parking lot drive, because it's not essential to push snow or have vehicles come in and out of. So she said, as long as there's no vehicles down there,
Doesn't
and
be
the town wants to do that. But she said people can go down Mayview and sled if they want to, you can't stop them from doing it, but the town's not going to post a sign and
Advertise.
say. Correct.
Sort of like the sledding hill at, off of Shoals Mill.
yeah.
Well, I may have missed this, but I'll ask Matt, is there any movement to put some kind of a safety barrier on Laurel Lane at the lake, where it crosses the lake?
Not that I've heard.
Wasn't there something there one time?
There were locust posts, were there not? Remember that stuck in the ground?
There may have been locust posts that
Yeah.
honestly, I can't remember. I do vaguely remember something there. As far as future or putting something back, I have not heard.
Been a long time since there was ever anything there. I say it's been a long time since there was anything ever there.
Okay.
Okay. Real quickly, some date reminders on there about your BRAC meeting. And also, just want to point out about the bid opening on January 17th. Talked to Doug today, at least there's some inquiries in, but he hasn't received anything back, so just for information. The last thing, of course, is, you know, we've changed, it's under construction, we'll revise and customize, and if you have any suggestions, like or dislike, let us know on this agenda format, or if you want or not want the executive summary, we kept that down the road, so, it's open for a trial period, and we can go from there, and that's all I have, Mayor.
So, let me ask you something about the streetscape thing. Doug, have you had any, 2 or 3 people, or how many people have you had?
That's what I was looking at, I had looked at something, we had 7 people signed up as a prime bidder holding plans. Some of those folks may be more concrete and curb gutter, and some may be more water,
Yeah, I understand.
sewer, and
Good,
something back and forth.
great, good going.
On the agenda, I was a little confused as to what was consent and what was regular, because they were lumped together. That would be my only thing to separate it.
Okay.
Under 5?
On the summary, right, this,
No,
yeah,
on-
okay, that's good, yeah, we can We can, do something there about separating them out,
Actually, I
yeah.
had it here too.
Yeah, and I see it, yeah, I can see where you can get confused. I think that's our error.
So I'm thinking, well.
Yes, yes.
You ought to be sitting up here.
Yes. Yes, yes. Good
Let me-
point.
let me-
Yeah.
let me say one
That's an
thing
easy
for-
fix. That's an easy fix.
Okay.
This gentleman,
Thank you.
this gentleman came in here under a pretty fast track situation, Jim Freeman. And I think he's actually picked up a few beats, so thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I love
Appreciate
having the
It's
pledge
together.
at the
We're
beginning.
doing this and making mistakes too.
It's okay.
And we'll move it. I'm finished.
So do we.
Do we have a motion? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Meeting's
I
adjourned. Thank you, guys.
2.5 hours.
I'm going to bed.
2.5
I have
hours.
to leave it.